Hi, welcome back to Huckleberry Hideaway Homestead. It is deer processing weekend, so
So we got our little deer processing set up here in our tiny little apartment. This is where Jordan and I are kind of slicing up meat. We got our jerky marinade, so the good jerky pieces we'll just put straight in there, and then that bowl we'll put stuff in for grind. So that's kind of what we're focusing on. We're just gonna do, I think, our ground deer tonight. We will also do some breakfast sausage too. Not tonight though. But that marinade, if you're wondering, it is the Alton brown jerky marinade, which is 2/3 cup Worcestershire sauce, 2/3 cup soy sauce, a tablespoon of honey, some pepper, onion, and red pepper flakes. And so we let our jerky pieces marinate overnight, and then we put them in the dehydrator.
we've had this meat in the fridge aging for 2 weeks.
Yeah, let's see how. So you can kind of see it's pretty tender.
Yeah.
Which is nice. It's like not nice and hard. And then what are you doing right now? Do you want to explain?
So like you get some of these pieces that are really got all this silver skin on it, but you can kind of use your knife blade and pull off some of that meat
The silver skin.
off the silver skin. So
Oh, pull the meat off the silver skin.
yeah, it's kind of arduous, but
So a good knife is important. What knife are you using?
I'm just using my hunting knife. It's a Cabela's buck knife.
And then I'm using a Mora knife.
Those are good ones.
Yeah,
too.
these are amazing, especially for doing what he's doing. Like, he looks like he's having a hard time, but these Mora knives are like, it's like butter. It's pretty nice. Here, try that. Show him. See if there's like a difference.
This is kind of
Oh yeah, it's way better.
yeah. I probably need to sharpen mine after boning that deer out and stuff. So
I'm gonna show him another piece because your hand is kind of covering.
you can kind of just. This is a really thin one, but you can kind of just get down at an angle and get that meat peeled right off.
So getting the silver skin off is kind of important because that's what has that gamey flavor to venison. And so we did this last year. We like took the time to get as much silver skin out as we could, and our meat was really good in my opinion. Like the first time I had venison, we didn't take the time to get all of it out, and I was not a fan. But last year
It could have been the deer too, because every deer's got a little bit different flavor. But
true. But yeah, it was like way better last year. So, and this is going to be interesting because this is a mule deer and it's the first time we've ever had mule deer. So we'll have to keep you posted on the taste of it.
he'll be probably definitely a different flavor, but
Then a whitetail.
than the whitetail from last year. But so yeah, I can just peel that right off.
Yeah, that's way better than your other knife.
Yeah, I think I need to sharpen it.
And then over here we have our station where, well, I thought we were going to maybe do a sausage, which is why I got all those spices out. But I guess not. We don't need to do that. So we're going to grind over here. And then over here, we'll kind of mix, weigh, vacuum seal, and then put her in the freezer. So this is our little setup in our tiny little apartment. And then the pieces, like specifically the actual like grinder thing where you like put the meat through, is in the freezer right now because you want that to be cold, because you don't want your fatty pieces to kind of get all melty. You want them to stay cold. Which, Jordan, do you want to explain what we do to add fat into our...
So we just get for making grind like hamburger, we just get like beef trim and from the grocery store, and it usually I kind of aim for like 20% fat because this is so lean meat. Maybe not quite that much. Kind of depends, I guess. But so something like 20%-ish fat, and then for the total end product. And then for breakfast sausage, I usually either do like bacon ends, like which I couldn't find them this year for some reason, or what we end up getting is pork butts. So we just picked up a couple of pork butts, and we'll grind that in. The reason you do that is because venison's, you can see how lean it is. There's literally no fat in the muscle tissue itself. I mean, there's some stuff in between.
Like, look at this piece.
But there's just, there's no fat to it. So, for it to hold together for burger and stuff, you gotta.
Sorry about that. We got cut off. The camera battery died. And we've been kind of doing some cutting up for the last,
Hour.
Yeah, like hour and a half. We got this so far.
This much. I'm gonna get this popped in the freezer. I think that's where we kind of left off, actually, was talking about grinding. So, what we do is, you don't want your meat to be too warm while you're grinding, because then it gets kind of sticky, and it grinds a lot better if it's like partially frozen. So, what we're gonna do is pop this tray into the freezer, and then let it freeze for, I don't know, maybe half hour, and once it's kind of got a little froze to it.
Froze?
Yeah.
Firmness.
Once it's froze a little bit, we'll grind this along with some fat, some of that beef fat, and I think we got probably about, say maybe 4 pounds here.
Yeah.
So far, just all the trim stuff off the carcass is what I was. Got a big bag of meat. We're almost done with it. Just a little bit left to go through on that bag, and then I got another bag about this big of all this trim stuff, and then we're on to the quarters. So it's a lot of work.
Yeah, this is like the nastier stuff as far as like all the layers of like silver skin and everything.
Because when you get to the quarters, it's bigger muscle groups, and you're able to. They're a lot easier to work with. So we're doing the hard stuff first.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna get this thrown down in the freezer.
And then over here, we've got the jerky marinating already. I think I might try to put a little bit more, just so I think a little bit more can fit in there. You want it to be submerged though, so everything's.
What do we do?
Touching that.
Like 24, 48 hours, something like that.
24 hours. Yeah. You don't want to over marinate it. Don't want it to be too salty, but. Yeah, also, like, here's a good piece you can see, like, that has, like, a bunch of, like, layers to it. And you, like, kind of have to,
silver skin.
Yeah, cut apart these layers and get that silver skin out.
Yep. It's a lot of work, but it's nice to know that our product is a good product.
Yeah, because,
I don't know, when you get it processed...
Yeah, when you get it processed, you don't know that that's your meat that you're getting back, because they're just, especially with the ground, they're just throwing a bunch of deer in this ground and then they give you, like a certain weight based on the weight that you brought in. Like your back straps and like your bigger cuts are probably from yours, but... Yeah,
but your grind is going to be, they're just going to weigh out how much you have and give you... that amount of weight back.
Yeah, and like you don't know how other people butchered their deer. You don't know how they field dressed. Yeah, how they shot it, how they field dressed it, how long it was not on ice or in a cool area, especially this year when it was like it's been warm.
Yeah.
So
you can see look at the quality of that. Just the red.
And it's so tender. Like I'm very happy with the tenderness. Like as we're cutting, I'm like, man, that is some tender meat.
Yeah, so I'm gonna get this into the freezer for a while, and then we've got some beef fat, some big chunks of beef fat that we picked up down there. I think tonight we're just gonna basically go through those 2 big chunks, bags of grind.
We'll bring them
and
up
just
here
get
when we get there.
hamburger.
Yeah, just so you can see it.
Yeah, we'll show you all that process, what we do. But yeah, it's basically just trim through everything. We'll freeze it, then we grind it with fat or some type of other product to kind of get some adhesion to properties to it, and then we vacuum seal it. As far as the burger, for this breakfast sausage, we grind it with the spices, so we'll show you that process. And then the main meat that we save for like other things is just the back straps, and maybe once in a while we'll save another cut off of like a rump roast or something. But we use mostly grind tends to be the best thing. Grind and sausage is the stuff we use the most of, so throughout the year. So that's kind of what we focus on, is getting a good product for those things. So, but yeah, into the freezer with the fat, and we'll be up here in a little while, and grind it into 1 pound packages so that it's ready for recipes. And we got a scale. We got a pretty solid process. We've been doing this for a few years, so kind of know what we're up to.
Yeah.
But we'll check back with you on the next step. Hey, next step here. I'm just working on cubing up this piece of beef fat trim. We'll grind it in with the burger. So it's kind of froze, so we're just chopping it up.
You want a bigger knife?
I think it'll be alright.
So just a little bit ago, we took a dinner break, and I made my mom's autumn soup and included some venison. So you can see those venison chunks in there. Usually her recipe calls for ground beef, but if you're a hunter, you know that when you start processing your new animal you have to empty the freezer from your last animal. So that's what we were doing. We didn't have too much left. We had maybe a couple pounds of breakfast sausage and then some tenderloins and a deer steak, or a couple deer steaks, which deer steaks are small. So I just cubed those up and then put them in the soup. But before I actually put them in the soup, I sauteed some garlic and onions and some butter, and then I added the cubed venison, and then I put in maybe a cup of red wine and let it cook for just a little bit until it was about medium rare, and then I added the rest of the ingredients and kind of have been letting it simmer for quite a few hours. It's really good. It's those are really good cuts. They're some of the most tender cuts on the deer, so nice and tender. I think next time, to even make it more tender in the soup, is I think I'm gonna wait to add the venison until maybe 30 minutes before we eat, and I'll cook it just like I explained, but I'll wait 30 minutes before and then add it to the soup, because then it would really be good. But even so, even though I didn't do that, it still was good. So I usually think when you have beef stew with the chunks, it's usually dry and grainy on the inside. It was not like that, so it was still pretty good given that. I just figured that it probably would be even better when they're kind of medium rare. So because Jordan and I like our meat medium rare.
Yep.
Was Jordan approved recipe?
Yeah, excellent.
Don't cut yourself, please.
Chopping up this frozen fat.
Cut towards your buddy, not your body.
Weighing out some deer meat here. Figuring out the fat content. This is just some cut up that beef fat trim. So we got 1 pound and 1 1/4 pounds. We're trying for a 20-ish, 25% fat ratio. 20%, I guess. So let's see. Maths are hard. That's an ounce. And fat. It's funny how the weight of this piece of fat compared to the density of the muscle is so much less. So 18. So we're at 20 ounces, and we need 25% of that, so 5 ounces of fat. switch this out.
So now we're gonna run it through again on a finer grind, right?
Mm-hmm.
So while he's doing that, this grinder we got from Cabela's. We actually got it in their bargain cave.
Yeah, years ago.
Yeah, years ago. It was before they Bass Pro bought them out. But it was actually the last one at that store that we got this at that of this model. They were going to discontinue this model and replace them with obviously a newer model, but a newer model with plastic pieces. So not completely plastic, obviously, but some of the pieces were going to be plastic, and this one, they're all metal. And so we were like, oh my gosh, we have to get it. Plus it was in the bargain cave, so it was a really good deal. So we're thankful for this grinder that we got it when we did.
Yep, it is. It's a half horsepower, and it pushes meat quick, as you could probably see.
So then there's that second grind. So you can see the difference there.
Yeah, it gets that fat really into the meat a little bit better. Okay, got it. Got that first big chunk of stuff ground up. Getting it into 1 pound balls here to package up.
Like this.
Here's one Megan just did. So we're doing 1 pound pieces, but take a look at that meat though. That's beautiful.
I mean, Jordan squished it all up, but
Well, look at that.
yeah, and then we weigh it in there.
Weigh it, doing 1 pound chunks.
Here, you want to hold this? Alright, so we put it in this vacuum seal bag.
And then sucks all the air out, runs the seal on it, and there we go. Another 1 pound piece ready to go.
So how much?
Looks like so far off of that, all that trim, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.5 pounds of product so far. We're going to try to get the rest of the trim stuff cut up and packaged tonight. And we also have some jerky obviously too. So we're probably somewhere in like the 10, 12 pounds of meat processed so far. But it's turning out great.
Hey guys, so we are all done processing the deer meat, and this is what we are left with.
We got this front and then this back is just ground 1 pound pieces there, vacuum sealed. This front row is cut with like beef trim, and then we have a few pounds that's cut with pork.
Because we had some leftover pork.
So we had some pork left over from doing breakfast sausage. So if I'm remembering right, we've got 36 pounds of ground and then 15 pounds of breakfast sausage. And then we also had the meat we used for jerky, and then we've got some backstrap in there as well. So
We got about 3 pounds for jerky.
3 pounds after drying, so you
Yep.
figure double that, plus another like close to 10 pounds of backstrap meat. So yeah, it's definitely over 50 pounds. Obviously there's some cut into this, but I think we figured we pulled 50 pounds of meat off the animal, plus what we cut in and stuff, so close to 60 pounds of actual like product at the end.
So explain to them your breakfast sausage, how you do that, since we didn't film it.
So I use the recipe off of Meat Eater. For those of you that don't know, Meat Eater, Steve Ranella, he's got like a YouTube show. I think he's on Netflix now too, actually. And he's from the Bozeman area, but he's just a hunter that travels around, and he's all about using the whole animal and that kind of thing. And he's got recipes and stuff on his website. And that venison breakfast sausage recipe on there is what I use. But it's basically salt, pepper, some thyme, rosemary,
Sage,
red pepper flakes, a little bit of ground clove, and brown sugar. I think is about everything that's in it.
And we tried, while he was mixing those and we had it before we packaged, we cooked up a little patty to taste it, to compare it to the version from last year. And we decided that this year's version is better for whatever reason.
Yeah, it could be the animal. It
Yeah.
could be, the recipe is better. Last year I ground the breakfast sausage with bacon ends, which has some salt in it already. So I think, and I don't know.
It's a different texture.
I also tried substituting. I did some maple syrup, and I was just kind of playing with some stuff last year, so I did a few different recipes. But the best one even from last year was that recipe, I think, and so we went back to that.
Yeah.
Just did it all that. So yeah, 15 pounds there. We use ground the most, but we did some with the pork, ground pork butts. It's a high fat content, because venison doesn't stick very well when you're trying to use it for like meatballs and other things. So just not much fat. So we did beef trim for all this, and then pork butt there. That would be more for like maybe meatballs.
Stuff with Italian, like maybe like a ziti. If we if we don't make our ziti with full Italian sausage, we could do that because it has some Italian sausage in it.
And then this is just picked up a few pounds of beef. Essentially, it's almost pure beef fat, really.
Yeah.
Just ground that in. So, but yeah, pretty happy with the turnout. That'll last us the year.
I'm actually making some chili right now as we speak. It's simmering with some of the deer from this year, so we're already digging in and using it. And speaking of that, so like if deer is new to you and you're like, well, I don't really know what to cook with it, basically anything that we do beef with, we do with the ground. So like tacos, chili, and if venison is a new flavor for you, because it is slightly different than ground beef. Like, don't eat it expecting it's going to taste exactly like ground beef, because then you will be disappointed. There is a bit of a difference. And so if it is new to you, and you're not like quite accustomed to it yet, I would recommend cooking it in like things that have some stronger flavors like tacos and chili, because of that chili powder. It kind of covers up, and I hate saying that because like venison is good for what it is, but as you're getting used to it, it masks it just a little bit, so you can kind of wade into it. But I also make like honey sriracha meatballs, like kind of like an Asian style meatball with them. Hamburger patties, like just burgers, we do that. So like I said, anything that we do beef with, spaghetti and meat sauce, we'll do with the ground venison. So what do you think is your favorite ground venison, or not, maybe not ground, just venison type meal?
I liked everything really. Anything with beef, it's like the same really. I mean, there's better flavor obviously, but
Last
we had
year,
that autumn soup that was really
yeah, so last year we didn't grind everything. There were some like chunks that we kept whole to maybe like cut up for like chunks in like autumn soup or like beef stew. We didn't do that this year, but I tried it. We had a little bit left of last year's, and I tried that. I think you guys saw that on the video, and that was good too, like chunked out like that. Again, if you're new to venison, having it ground might be a little bit better than having it in chunks where you're like really like chewing through it. because you can taste more of that venison flavor. But it's definitely just something to get used to. Again, don't expect it to taste just like ground beef, because then you will be disappointed. Yeah, this is what we have. We're excited that, I mean, there's a couple things in that freezer. There's a turkey in there, corned beef, and some frozen peaches. But other than that, yeah, oh, that's a good idea. Other than that, that whole freezer is like gonna be full when we get it loaded up.
Yeah. You want to talk about the vacuum sealer?
Oh yeah. So you didn't talk about it when you were doing it.
Maybe a little bit. I think.
Well, I'll cut this out if he already talked about it in this video. So we vacuum seal our meat with just a super saver. Is it seal saver? I don't remember the brand we use.
Better example, that one.
Well, I was gonna talk about this. So yeah, it just vacuum seals it. It's best because it like keeps it from getting freezer burn. This one, you do have to make sure when you're using those that it seals properly. So this one, you can see got a little bit of air in it. So like these we'll use sooner than the other ones because there's a little air in it. But yeah, we love that thing. I used it to seal peaches. I showed you guys a while ago. Jordan's gonna move them into this other freezer. Yeah. So I love that vacuum sealer. It's handy for a lot of things. But so that's how we kind of process our deer and what it all looks like in the end, and some of the meals that we make with it. If you have any other questions about the way that we did things, feel free to put those in the comments below. We love that conversation. And what do you guys think about venison? Have you had it before? If you have, what'd you think about it? Oh no, Jordan just dropped some peaches. And would you be willing to try it again? So I just encourage you to do that. You might have seen, if you follow us on Instagram, at Huckleberry Hideaway Homestead, I did a post about just kind of trying to opt out of the mass food production, like the industrialized production of our food. And this is like one way that we take that baby step. So I'm not saying that we're perfect and that we like don't use products like from the grocery store, because we certainly do. Actually, the majority of the stuff we do, we still get from the grocery store. But for us, it's all about trying to take a few more baby steps of like opting out of that food system. And our reasoning is because just the quality, and like the quality isn't the same when you're producing a bunch of like chicken, for example, for like thousands of people, and even like they don't even have like the most optimal care for those animals as well. So this is something that we like to do, to just take one step further to opting out. Again, we don't do this for everything. It would be wonderful if at some point we can get to that where we are like sourcing all our meat more locally, or even ourselves, but it's just not possible for us at this time. But we're working towards it, and that's what matters. And so if you are in that same boat, don't be discouraged. Just take those little baby steps, you know, maybe do like a meatless Monday, or get out there and meet some of your local farmers, go to the farmers market and stuff. But yeah, so thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and follow us on Instagram. We'll see you next time.
Bye.